Welcome to another episode of Lockdown with Wendy. Today's guest, you're laughing, is nurse Jed Ryan, who happened to come by just to check and make sure Alan was doing okay and hoping that I would be okay. And while Jed was here, of course, we got him to cook on the pandemic cooking show. But I really wanted Jed to be here today, not only for Alan, but Jed is on the front lines, okay? We don't often get to talk to a nurse firsthand and find out what is it like taking care of yourself and taking care of patients during a pandemic. So welcome, Jed.
Thank you. There's nobody that I would rather be locked up, or locked down with than Wendy.
Oh my God, he's a good contender for one of my gay husbands. Now, when Jed
I filled out the application. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. When Jed arrived today, he had full regalia on. You had scrubs. What were you wearing on your face?
Well, there's two kinds of masks. One of them is when you're actually working at the hospital, and it's for droplet precautions. And this mask shields you from everything. It's called an N95. You've probably heard about it.
I have one of those.
Yes.
I have 6 of them, actually.
Yes, it pinches on the nose and it fits really tight. I had to shave my beard just so I could wear one, which is why I look like this. I still kept the porn stash though. And when you feel like you can't breathe, that's when you know the mask is working. So you have that, and then there's another mask which will protect you from, actually the N95 is airborne, it protects you from everything. A regular mask will protect you from droplets, meaning if there's...
if someone sneezes
yes,
or something,
yes.
Okay, yeah, because there's a lot of confusion with these masks. Now, even in the street, I see people with the little thin ones, right, clipped over their ears.
Yes.
But this is out in the street. What, being protected from what? If you're not near somebody.
Yes, that's my feeling exactly. From what we know, the COVID virus can survive on surfaces for a short period of time. Most viruses, thankfully, are very delicate. So the important thing is if you touch a common surface, wash your hands. But fresh air is a wonderful thing, and this is what we need to reinforce. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going out for a walk, going out with one person, especially if it's a family member or friend who is clearly not ill, and walking your dog, because pets need love too.
I've been doing all of that. I've been doing all of that, and
Yes.
quite frankly, people they don't explain this. There's so much that's unexplained, right? So people are holed up in their houses, going crazy, and sometimes I don't think that that's healthy mentally or even physically. There's no air circulating.
Yes, exactly. Now I understand, trust me, for socialites like us, for full-time socialites, it's hard to be indoors for long periods of time. I get really bad cabin fever. I'm sure Wendy gets really bad cabin fever.
I am ready to jump out of my skin. Look at how I'm dressing. It's obvious that I have gone over the edge, ladies and gentlemen, in the last 2 weeks. But
I understand it. We understand the need for social distancing. We understand the need for not congregating in large groups. We understand the need for staying out of large crowds. And clearly, if you're not feeling well yourself, you have to take a good, long, hard look at your own medical history, if there's anything that would compromise your immune system, if you have a history of either heart or lung disorders, or again, compromised systemic immune system, any kind of chronic disease. Stay in, really take a good, hard look at how safe you feel as a person, because you protect yourself first, and obviously the loved ones, and you need to plan your daily life around that. So it's been rough, because as a nurse, as you know, my outlet was definitely going out and partying, going out and having socializing.
Can I say what I'm going to say when Jed isn't giving people care in a professional environment? You can find him on stage, not very well clothed, I'll put it that way, and amazingly entertaining, funny. I told him he does like Mr. Magoo burlesque because he's got a great sense of humor. He performed at my birthday extravaganza that I produced with Nick Lyon, and it was an amazing night. Jed, it is interesting to me, Jed wears 2 hats, as many of us do. I always say we have our serious side and then we have our delirious side, the side that makes us performers. But I'm going to get to the nitty-gritty right now. If I were in your shoes, even though you're trained professional nurse, I would be freaking terrified. Do you have those sorts of fears? I mean, you have a husband. Do you have those fears about getting sick?
I do. I work at a large medical institution in New York City. It's a large teaching hospital, and we're always doing research. We're always trying to stay ahead of the next big thing. But we reserved entire floors for any possibility that we get one. Yes. They initiated an order that there is to be no non-essential surgery.
Right.
A
So
lot of surgeries
anything
were canceled.
elective, like that eye job I had planned. Just kidding. Not really. But anything like that you can't have now.
Yes, exactly.
Everything. Oh my God. We're all walking around looking a little threadbare these days, aren't we? Well, Jed, one of my specialties is I do cut hair, and I highlight it. I have no training either. That's right. I don't need training. I'm an artistic person, and I have a feel for whoever is being touched by my scissor. So
that's a whole show on its own there. But...
It is.
So, back to where we were.
Haircuts in a pandemic. Okay, so we were talking about like where you, and I knew that about you. I call it KDD. But getting back to where we were talking about Jed's personal fears, and now you work in a large teaching hospital.
Yes.
When were you like first notified that, for lack of a better word, the shit was going to hit the fan? When did they first tell you?
It was because part of it was that they eliminated all non-emergent surgeries and non-essential surgeries.
When was this? Was it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Interestingly, the first time I knew that things were that there was something brewing was my sister, who also does PR, and she was promoting this book, and there was supposed to be a book signing with a concurrent talk and lecture about women's sexual slavery, unfortunately.
Wow.
A very serious subject. And that was supposed to be at the UN, and that would have been on March 20th had it happened. And a couple of weeks before that, so it was probably maybe even 3 weeks. No, it was 3 weeks. It was early March, very early March, and she said it was canceled, and I couldn't understand why. The UN apparently was really on top of this, maybe before some other organizations. And then one after the other, then, as you know, gigs were being canceled, either from low ticket sales or just the venue closing.
But we were, at that point, to my mind, what was that, like March 12th?
Yes.
But that was so late in the game. It was a done deal by then, so they had to have known back in February. Why was nobody told anything?
Now, it's true, coronaviruses, I remember learning about this in nursing school 23 years ago.
You've been long ago, far away, right?
Longer than that, yes. Coronaviruses always existed, but this one is just a particularly nasty strain, the COVID-19. So the problem is the virus can exist in the system, and it's a respiratory virus, and a lot of us, if we already have chronic diseases or have issues, then that's when it becomes serious.
Right.
Staying home, age is not a matter, some younger people
Doesn't
can
seem
have...
to be. Younger people get it. But it also point out, I have some younger friends who got it sick for a week and then over it. But then you hear of kids that were perfectly healthy, gone.
Yes.
Gone.
Yes.
So this is what I don't get about this. It's like you can't predict it. I mean, logic tells you, yes, if you have any kind of immune problems, a heart condition like Alan's heart, any kind of breathing things, your logic tells you, oh yeah, you gotta be careful, it can kill you. But it's killing healthy people.
And this may be a good time, since we're all under quarantine, or most of us, to get those 8 hours of sleep a night. And do anything that will help you relax.
Let me just tell you something, and everybody knows
8 hours, what's that,
me.
right? If you live in New York City, what is 8 hours of sleep,
I
honestly?
would be like up at 2 o'clock in the morning, like, texting with everybody else who doesn't sleep, right? And go to bed at like 2:33, then get up at like 7:38, and really do that day after day. Put in a full day. I have a ton of energy, very hard to turn my mind off, completely engaged, completely curious, and I've been that way for forever, right? Since this happened. This is like a mind blower. I still go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I often don't get up till like 9:30 or 10. All right, I'm very relaxed when I wake up, and I really don't care what I'm going to wear that day or think too much about anything. It's not like I don't have a game plan, but all of my priorities have shifted. And it's like the day doesn't have, for me, it has no beginning, no middle, and no end anymore. Like, I don't know that it's 2 or 3 in the morning when I'm going to sleep. The day has just kind of evolved to that. That's what's so different. Honestly, I feel like I'm in a time warp. Yes. Now you, because you're going into a hospital, you have to be a little more structured.
Yes. Things have changed. Again, my unit that I used to work on was actually a beautiful unit to work. It was 24-hour surgery. So basically, the patients came in for surgery, simple things. They were generally very healthy, and they had their surgery. We watched them overnight. If they didn't have a fever, if their mood site looked good, if they were free of pain, walked around a little bit, then I kissed them on the cheek and I would send them home and like, good luck. And unfortunately, our unit and a lot of other units, we've just become what we call COVID ready. So we all had to take a crash course on just the PPE, the personal protection equipment, and keeping ourselves safe. Usually, like with the N95, which is for airborne precautions, or the cloth mask, which is for droplet, and the gowns, as you saw before, the paper gowns, gloves. Do the hand washing thing.
And you had a visor. You have like a...
Yes. Oh yes, that's called an eye shield, and sometimes it's attached to the mask, sometimes it's separate, and that will help prevent against splashes as well. Eyes are mucous membranes. We want to obviously avoid touching them as much as we can, and wash again, hand washing. We've set aside a lot of space, and all nurses were recruited that this is war. So no matter what you're doing, yes, this is war. No matter what we were doing before, you have to be ready for this. You may have heard in the news that there was a shortage of masks. I can't say for sure how many masks we have or how many are really out there, but we need to be very good about just not wasting products.
And you did say, like, I have the N95 mask. I can wash that mask. Can I disinfect that mask? Can I use that mask more than one time?